I'm Joe. Very nice to meet you as well.
I'm Jacqueline. Pleasure. I've heard so much
But
about you.
Jacqueline, before we get into the human introductions, we want to introduce you to Ella the bomb dog.
Come here.
What is
Come on up,
what is
Ella.
Come on,
her
up
name?
here.
Ella.
Oh, isn't she pretty?
She's a Malinois, right?
No, she's a German Shepherd. She used to work for a security contractor at the American Embassy in Jordan, and we adopted her as a pet out of a program that rehomed dogs once they were working and were done working. So we have her 3 years, and she's become just a super awesome pet. And she's a great big sister to my young German Shepherd, teaching him lots of good
You're not
behaviors.
done? Not done with the
That's it.
How, how old are they when they retire them from that
They,
kind of
they can
work?
retire anywhere from 6 to 10 years. She was 7 when they retired her, and they didn't give us the reason for retiring her. She could have become ineffective, or she could have had medical issues, and we've had nothing serious with her medically. But she has just adapted well to home life and traveling around like we do.
She's beautiful. I grew up with
I-
German Shepherds, and then I had a Doberman for 4 years. She unfortunately passed away last year, but I love that kind of breed.
Yeah, and they're so smart, and the key word with a shepherd or even a like a Malinois or a Dutch Shepherd is they have something called emotional intelligence, and they
Yes,
can pick up on things around them so well
yes,
that and they know something's coming before we do,
yes.
and that's what we have them with us for.
I
And
love it.
last year, Tony almost ended it all for Ella. I don't know what she better, but she literally had to go for surgery.
No, that wasn't Tony.
really, it was not Tony's fault.
Well,
He ingested a corn cob and didn't pass it, so it got
Oh
stuck.
my God.
So we
Oh
had to have
my
it.
God.
We did not even serve corn.
So that was my fault.
Yeah.
But as far as her overall health, she's been great. And I've had several other friends of mine adopt dogs at the same time, and their dogs are gone. So we were very fortunate to get a dog that has lasted as long as she has. So she'll be 11 in March. So I think we got a good 2 years left out of her.
What's their life expectancy?
Shepherds can go anywhere from 10 to 13 years, maybe 14 years for a very, very healthy dog. I've seen them go longer than that, but a lot of times the nature of their breed, they have a lot of hip issues.
Yes.
But she's made it this far without hip issues. I don't expect any hip issues out of her. And I've seen dogs with like 8, 9 years old, and their back end is all just bound up from the problems with the hips.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's wonderful. All right.
all right,
So
well,
we're here
let's
to talk about bourbon, or are we here to talk about whiskey and bourbon?
Well, all bourbon is whiskey, but not
Yes.
all whiskey is
Whiskey
bourbon,
is
right?
bourbon. Yep. Yep.
So, and bourbon has to be made where to be called bourbon
In the US.
in America, right? If you ask that question in an American audience, they're going to say it's got to be made in Kentucky, right? But it really
Right.
has to be made in any American territory. It can be made in America Samoa and still call it bourbon because it falls under a U.S. flag.
Wow. Okay. So it has
So-
nothing to do with the terrain or the geography. It just
Well, the
US
reason
use.
that bourbon took off in Kentucky was the type of settlers that settled in that region. So you had warm summers and cool winters. So when they age it in the new oak barrels, it goes into and out of the wood. So you get more interaction because you have the swing in temperature through the year.
Mhm.
And that's what makes it smoother over time.
Right.
So like this one here is aged 19 years. So this is William Heaven Hill Distillery. And this is a distillery only release of 19 years. And We waited in line from 5:30 on a Friday night till Saturday morning. We were number 42 and 43 in line, my wife and I, and there were like 250 people in line by the time the place opened up. Yes. But it
Do
was
they have like a limited production of
it's probably
bottles? What is it?
there's 2 days. Yeah, this bottle here, there's probably only 1,700 bottles of it, and right
Wow.
now less than 1,000 of them that have been released to the public.
And prices on those, Joe?
Oh, this one here at the shop was 300 American plus sales tax, and they'll trade for secondary market for roughly $1,500 to $1,700 for this bottle right here. So I don't have
Wow.
the resources to spend $1,700 on a bunch of bottles. So I have time. So my time and effort was put into waiting in the line in order to get the bottle.
So will you ever drink it?
This one here will get drank. And I don't buy them in order to sell them, because there are people that are that's all they do is flip bottles. They'll wait in that line. That'll be on a Facebook group to flip bottles within 15 minutes of the release. They'll be in the parking lot taking a picture of it, posting it, and they'll be at UPS by Monday morning shipping it to somebody.
And is that on the Bourbon Trail? Like where
This is Heaven Hill's a Bourbon Trail stop. This is in Bardstown, Kentucky, Heaven Hill Distillery. Tuesdays and Saturday mornings are their allotted releasement days. So if you want the best chance with not having to get there at 5:30 the day before, I would say get there like 4 o'clock in the morning if you're really looking to try to get a super exclusive bottle. So, but the rumors were out on that bottle being released Saturday, so there was a ton of people. This bottle here, we got the previous Tuesday, and we showed
Can you
up at
tell me what it is? I
This
can
is
read.
Old
Oh,
Fitzgerald. This is an 11-year. This is their 2025 BVS release. So normally Old Fitzgerald has a spring and a fall release, and they'll have green or black labels on them. And then there's a third special release called VVS, very, very special. So these here were 170 American, and they will secondary for roughly 700 on secondary. So, and I noticed this bottle is only 2 weeks old. There's a lot out of it. You know why? Because I share.
Are you sharing it with Phil? Is he
Not at
enjoying
this
half
moment.
of that?
Not right at this moment.
Phil usually turns his nose up at my bourbon.
You know, I'm more of a
Really?
middle shelf guy when it comes to bourbon. I'm at Woodford, and so Joe doesn't like to waste his money on me. That's what he's trying to say.
Well, I mean, I would love to bring. Well, like I'm sure you drink plenty of wine, right? So
Yes.
you know what good wine is, and wine has made me a better bourbon drinker or
How
bourbon
so?
taster or both.
How so?
How? Because wine taught me how your palate works.
Okay. All
So
right.
like you have all your olfactory systems. You smell with your nose only. Then you lower the glass and smell with your mouth and your nose at the same time.
Mhm.
And then you have your first taste. Your first taste will never be your best taste, because certain things get woken up after the first taste and certain things get diminished.
Right.
And that makes, so then that's what your palate's going to be after your first taste, as long as you don't let it go too long, because then your palate resets itself. So then, like, you have sip, swallow, exhale, and sip, swallow, inhale. That will give you different sensations or flavors out of the spirit.
Wow. Okay. Sip, swallow, inhale, sip, swallow, exhale.
Yep, when you're just with your Woodford there,
Yeah. I'll try it tonight.
Yep. Like my first sip is always a basic bourbon, like a Buffalo Trace or a Jack Daniels or something along those lines. Like Jack Daniels meets every requirement to call itself bourbon, but they style themselves as Tennessee whiskey after their own state.
Okay.
So that's just the choice. So like Jack Daniels was known early on because he was bottling his own spirits, and other places were just selling the barrels to retailers, and they were bottling them. So then
Okay.
they would add more water to it to stretch it out to get a couple more bottles in sales. And Jack Daniels didn't trust the retailer and wanted to ensure that when you opened his product, that it was as he intended it to be. So that's
Okay.
why he put it in sealed bottles.
All right. So the main difference between bourbon and whiskey is 51% corn for bourbon. Is that the
Well, the
biggest
requirements
difference?
to be
Where
called
they're
bourbon, there's plenty of whiskeys that are made from more than 51% corn. So the requirements to be called bourbon are 51% corn in the mash bill. We fill the mash bill out with more corn, rye, wheat, or barley. Um, so then they describe them as two mash bills, either wheated or rye. Wheat mash bills, like Maker's Mark, Old Fitzgerald is a wheated mash bill. Weller Reserve, Pappy Van Winkles are all wheated. They have softer mouthfeel, right, and come across slightly sweeter. When it's high rye in the mash bill or a rye whiskey, it's more pepper. But to me, I don't get those sensations out of rye. I get sweetness out of rye. I don't get stuff what other people get. But when you're starting off with corn as a base, you're always going to have sweetness because of the sugars that are in corn.
Mhm, mhm.
And then the other thing, so then it's got to come off the still at no higher than 160 proof. It can be barreled at no higher than 120 proof. Although many distilleries choose lower entry points for their spirit, then they have to add less distilled water to bring it down to the proof point that they want to bottle it at. So, like Michter's Distillery in Louisville, Kentucky, they barrel at 113 proof. So when you see a barrel proof or cast strength product from that company, they're lower ABVs because they already went into the barrel at a lower proof point. So, and it's also a more expensive process because you're going to get a lower yield out of the barrels because it goes in at a lower point. So most distilleries, they just put it in at the 120, and then they'll proof it down to one once they get it and batch it. So, and then you've heard of like Canadian blended whiskey, right? And then
Mhm.
America, we use the term batching, small batch, but there is no definition to what makes a small batch. It could be a boutique distillery that used like 40 barrels, or it could be used as a bigger company, and it could be 500 barrels. They consider a small batch. Like if you're talking like a normal everyday product like Buffalo Trace, right?
Okay.
That's a they do what's called it's called a constant run. They just keep dumping barrels into the cistern, running it through the line, and they'll proof it down as it goes through. And because that's the $27 bottle, and they're
Mhm.
just trying to make as many of those as they can to get them out the door and on the shelves, and that's their big money makers. They make obviously a profit off of these, and there's a reason for these, but and they're a treat for the consumer. But the big money makers are the stuff that goes on the shelf every day, that is in the trucks and is readily available. So do they get a better reputation for having more exclusive lines available? So other things to be called bourbon. So we go 51% corn. Then it has to be aged in brand new hard oak barrels, right? So, and then there's a whole industry when we're done using those barrels, we send them to Europe or other parts of the world for them to age their spirits in those bourbons.
Scotch,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, Scotch or Irish whiskey they're all used barrels that and I've seen there's a trend in America. I've seen that they age beer in a bourbon barrel. So then those will always come out high ABVs because they're going to they're soaking in the whiskey and their ABV's going up. So some of them are very good, some of them not so much.
How long can they use the same barrel?
Infinite. It like once in a bourbon cannot be flavored. You
Right.
can't add peach or apple to it and still call it bourbon. So Jim Beam has a product that it's Jim Beam peach or Jim Beam apple, but and then the way they get around it, it says it's made with Jim Beam straight bourbon.
Or like Tony likes the screwball stuff.
Yeah, that's just whiskey.
Yeah.
So whiskey can be flavored. You can't flavor it and still call it bourbon.
Okay.
But they can do what's called they have a barrel finishing now. So they will take Angel's Envy. They have all theirs are port wine barrel finished. So they finish it, they age it 6 to 7 years. Then they put it into a port wine barrel for 7 to 9 months until it achieves the flavor profile they look for, and then bottle it. And that one's a very good everyday bourbon, and it's got a nice little. You can taste the wine on the back end. It finishes out with that.
And what's the big
Okay.
one there, Joe? What's in that?
This one here.
Yeah. That's the special one, right?
Yeah, this is called King of Kentucky. So this one here is from Brown Forman Distillery in Louisville, Kentucky. This is the hardest bottle I get a hold of this year. And they retail for around $400 if you can find them on a retailer's shelf, but they go for $1,700 to $2,000, and I traded 2 bottles that I paid retail for in order to get this one. And this is probably one of the very best. It's in my top 2 that I've ever had.
Peanut Kentucky?
King of Kentucky, 17-year. This is the 2025 release. This particular bottle is one of 71. There's only 71 bottles that yielded out of this barrel. So every barrel has a different yield and a different proof point.
I can see the sun is hitting the camera now.
Yeah. Yeah. It just got better.
That's better.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
King of
So this
Kentucky,
one
I love
here-
that one. Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any connections. These here
Not
hard
here.
to come by.
Uh-uh.
And they're just the thing about like this one here is it's got such a super long finish, and for 130 proof, it does not drink like 130 proof. It is, and it's just flavor explosion, and so there's all kind of descriptors. So people use vanilla, caramel, butterscotch, leather, dried fruit, baking spices. That I don't necessarily get into all those descriptions, but I know when I have something special. And this is definitely one of those. These Old Fitzgerald always come off as a very good flavor. Another line that I like. So if you're looking to come and do the bourbon trail,
Yes.
like Wild Turkey, everything's like an hour. So if you decide to camp out in Louisville, it's an hour to get to Lexington. So
Okay.
that you spend your day. So then there's another. So then it's an hour to get to Lawrenceburg from Louisville, and it's an hour to get to Frankfurt from Louisville. So, and all the distilleries are kind of clustered together. So like Lawrenceburg, Kentucky has distillery, distillery. Frankfurt has Castle and Key. They also have Buffalo Trace is the big one there. And Buffalo Trace, they have right now with post-COVID and the way the world's going with dark spirits, because it seems like they're leaning back towards clear spirits like tequila or vodka. So they're more readily available. They have 2 what they call allotted releases a day. and they'll either be Eagle Rare, Weller Special Reserve, Blanton's, and E.H. Taylor. So, and E.H. Taylor is bottled in bond. Are you familiar with that term at all?
No, what is it?
So
Bottle and
bottled
bond?
in, bottled in bond. Like, so these bottles here,
Uh-huh.
you notice there's a stamp on top, right?
Yes.
They don't use the stamp anymore in practicality because everything is taxed, right? So this is a tax stamp. So bottled in bond spirits, they have to meet all the requirements to be called bourbon, but they have to be aged at least no less than 4 years and bottled at 100 proof. Oh, and no bourbon can be bottled at less than 80 proof to be still labeled as bourbon.
Okay.
So so if you see something that says bottled in bond, they'll always be 100 proof. It's not at least 100 proof, it's 100 proof. So the Bottled in Bond Act was the very first Consumer Protection Act in America. And so they were protecting our whiskey before they were protecting our food. So they have to be stored in a bonded, government supervised warehouse, which at the time it meant there was a bonded agent for the government who had one key and an employee had a second key. So the warehouse couldn't be, so nothing could get into or out of the warehouse.
Uh-huh.
So the objective was because people were making clear spirits and coloring them with very unsurly or unappealing items in order to say, hey, this is an aged spirit, and it really wasn't. So it was to put the confidence of the consumer back into buying product that had some really not good things happening to it.
So Jacqueline,
What
when you
was
come over
this?
for the Bourbon Trail, I haven't broken it to Joe yet, but he's going to be our tour guide. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm sure he will. But then we'll just have to make sure that we make a donation to his, Iron Dog?
Iron Dog K9, yeah.
Iron Dog
Oh, I love
Canine
it.
charity that he raises
Yes.
money for when he does these things. And then look at the value we're going to get from him being our tour guide. It's going to be
That's
awesome.
amazing. Amazing.
So,
When did you
like,
start getting into bourbon?
probably about 10, maybe 12 years ago. It was really, I don't want to say, I had a friend of mine who was a retired Navy medic, and he worked with the SEALs. So we'd be riding motorcycles together. So I had a camper that you could put two motorcycles in and go wherever you want, get them out and ride around. So he's a Jim Beam fanatic, loves everything Jim Beam. There's Jim Beam paraphernalia all over his home. So I said, let's go down and we'll visit other distilleries. So then I learned about the process, the age, the history, and then I learned about finer bourbons. And that's what really appealed to me, was having something more exclusive, the ability and the resources to share them and make friends. And so I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan or not.
Not
So
really.
we were,
I'm trying to drive you
There,
into
there are
the
some
universe, but
references. Yeah, there are some
yeah.
references
So like,
between
there's
Joe
a
and
Jedi
I.
Master, right? And then there's Padawan learners. Well, they were my bourbon Padawans. So in my
I'm
circle of
jealous.
friends, I'm the bourbon grandmaster.
yes.
So then we have bourbon masters and people that they're bringing into the fold and teaching about bourbon.
And I'm not even a Padawan, and I'm more like a Wookiee. Just kind of show up and drink Jack and Coke, and Joe just looks the other way and doesn't interact with me.
Because is adding Coke to whiskey, is
That's what
it
you do. That's called,
sacrilegious?
no. If you added it to this, that
Yes.
would be sacrilegious. If you
Okay.
added to this, would be sacrilegious.
Okay.
Add it to Maker's Mark, not sacrilegious. Add it to Jack Daniels or Jim Beam, not sacrilegious.
Okay.
But when you're talking about stuff that you're paying a premium for,
Yes.
I mean, even a $50 bottle of Heaven Hill bottled in bond, 7-year age, $50 is a very comfortable point that you can drink it on ice, you can drink it neat, or you can mix it with an old fashioned or Manhattan, or one of my favorite drinks to make is called a Boulevardier. So look that
Bourbon
one up.
and Courvoisier?
It's called a Boulevardier. Loosely
Okay.
translated means a man about town. So, and it's got
Okay.
a history to it. When we had Prohibition in America in the 1920s, there was a gentleman sold his bar in New York City, moved to Paris, France, in order to continue his craft in the spirits industry. So so you're familiar with a Negroni, right?
Yes.
So you remove the gin from the Negroni and add American spirits, rye or bourbon whiskey. So your Woodford that you have right there would be fine. So it's 1 part Campari, 1 part vermouth, sweet vermouth, and 1.5 parts spirit. And then if you have available, I like to use some chocolate bitters in there. So the higher the proof, the better, because I like the whiskey to punch through the sweetness and the bitterness of the Campari and the vermouth. And then you garnish with a Luxardo and a twist of orange, and they're fantastic. Nice, easy sip and drink. Goes well with dinner or as an aperitif, or and sometimes I'll just make one, sit down at night and watch a movie.
What is it called again? Bouvoisier?
Boulevardier.
Bouvardier.
Yep. So and they call it they got the nickname Boulevardier because it appeared in the magazine The Boulevardier, which is it's a copy of the American magazine The New Yorker.
Yep.
And so they first published the recipe to make it in the Boulevardier, so that's the name that stuck to it.
Okay. So what is the best food pairing with bourbon?
Oh, I'm a red meat guy. so so and then obviously if you're eating fish, you want like a lighter a bourbon.
Okay.
You're not going to want a high proof bourbon.
Okay.
So Boulevardier goes great with a good ribeye, or uh, you, but I've really never got into the food pairings, because generally I'm on Phil's page with
Yeah.
red meat,
This is where we do have some equality.
and Phil's a great cook. So,
I've heard and I've seen pictures, but I haven't tasted it yet.
Put a smoker in front of me and a barbecue and you'll be fine. Joe will have the
Amazing.
Boulevardier and I'll have Jack, and we'll be all right.
have some Boulevardiers this winter. So
I love it. I'm gonna see if I can find it here.
I mean, obviously you have a Campari.
Yes.
So
Yes, but Campari is a little bit, yeah, we have Campari. How about if I went and I asked for a Negroni, but instead of gin,
that works
with
just fine. Yep.
bourbon? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I'll try that. I'll try
Yep.
that.
It's very
'Cause
good.
Negronis I can find
But
a dime a dozen.
yep. So and then I mean, if you were in a pinch and you had to use Aperol, you could get away with it because it's still another bitter aperitif.
Okay.
I know they used to be separate companies, but now they're owned by the same people. All these
Earl and
acquisitions. So
Campari?
Campari and Aperol are owned by the
Yeah.
same company now. They used to be
Yeah.
separate companies.
Yeah.
So trying to think anything else, but like the certain distilleries, last week, Wild Turkey was offering, after a tour, you can buy a special bottle, right? So they have the ones I like from Wild Turkey are Russell's Reserve, right? So there's normally Russell's Reserve 10-year are the ones that are easily found, but I like Russell's 13 and Russell's 15. But after the tour, they gave you an opportunity to buy a Russell's 13, which is a $200 bottle, and you get to pay the actual price for it, not somebody gouging you on the secondary.
Great.
And those are great. So I have to find out when Old Forester opens up their tours again, But there's Old Forester does a tour where they give you at the end of it the choice to buy a bottle of what's called President's Choice. And those are all single barrels. They're all a little bit different because they have different age statements on it. And it'll give you one's 128 months, one's 120 months, one's 100 months. And so that, and they're all barrel proof. And so they're difficult to come by, but like they give you a letter saying this was bottled at the direction of the president of Old Forester Distilling Company, and he picks which ones allegedly, whether he has a tasting team do it or not, because everything's marketing, right? We know that.
Yes, yes.
So just like Evan Williams was allegedly the name of the harbor master in Louisville, Kentucky, and he made bourbon and plied his trade on the docks, shipping bourbon up and down the Kentucky River. So,
And Jack has so many stories too.
yeah, Jack has so many.
Yeah.
Like Jack died. He wasn't even 40 when he died, but there's a million stories that are marketing that go with Jack Williams, Jack Daniels. So Jack Daniels, we used a couple years ago. We used a single barrel of Jack Daniels to raise money for an organization called Tunnels to Towers, and they do
9/11 vet stuff.
Yeah, so they build houses for veterans with disabilities and missing limbs, and they do some really special work. And the majority, like 93 cents out of every dollar, actually goes to the purpose of the charity.
And Joe's disabled; it just doesn't show. So it's over here.
It's more mentally than physically.
Are you a vet?
I am.
Yep.
I served
Marine
in the Marines.
in Italy.
In 1993, I was in an aircraft carrier. We were in the Adriatic, and we flew over the former Yugoslavia republics, trying to maintain peace from Slobodan Milosevic. And then in 1996, I was in Aviano, Italy, which is the Pordenone province in northern Italy.
Okay.
So I got to take a couple of trips through the country. I've been to Assisi, visited
wow.
St. Francis's Basilica,
Yeah.
and then we did 3 days in Rome. And Rome is a beautiful, eternal city, and it's just we want to come back next year sometime to visit Italy. And
Please do.
and like we wound up discovering, because there was a bunch of drunk Marines wandering around Rome when you're young and you can do things. And so
Now he's just drunk wandering around Rome.
Yeah.
so we discovered Julius Caesar's grave, his tomb.
Wow.
It was just a plaque on a big, it's like, oh my God, but we're leaving tomorrow, so we couldn't come back in the morning. And I'm sure you've been to the Trevi.
Yes,
So,
of course. Of course.
Yeah,
My
beautiful.
mother, brother, and nephew are arriving on Sunday, and I'm picking them up in Rome. So we're going to do a little bit of Rome, and then we go down to Naples and Pompeii.
Are
So
you
we're
going to
gonna go
Sorrento as well?
I've been to Sorrento. I don't think I'm going to take them to Sorrento. I think we're going to do Naples, Pompeii, and then start heading back up and go somewhere north. Because I'm in Tuscany, so I'd like to bring them here for a couple of days.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been young Marines. We were at the entrance to Pompeii, so we saw some of the ruins, and they were still. So we could pay to get into the excavation, or we could eat dinner. And I chose to eat dinner. So I have to get back in order to go to. But the thing that amazed me when we were there is we took the Circumvesuvia, the train,
Yes,
the Circumvesuvius train. The Circumvesuvia means around Mount Vesuvius, right? The amount of lemon citrus fields was just incredible, and they were all the size of like American grapefruits or bigger, and just so. Where do we get limoncello from? These beautiful, you could just smell them. The train's going 50 miles an hour. You could still smell the citrus.
Yes. It's beautiful. There's some beautiful parts.
And then we missed the
Anyways.
last train. We missed the last train from Sorrento leaving. So we wound up uh, stuck at the train station, which overlooked a piazza. So there's all these teenagers riding their little Vespas around, and we're just like, yep, just like America, everybody's out at night, having fun, and so then we just, went to sleep on the benches in the train station, and first one back to
Are you
Naples.
serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God. No
So
wonder
we're
we
on
have
an
a bad
aircraft
name
carrier. So
throughout
in
Italy.
Naples, we had they ferry because the aircraft carrier is too big to pull up to a dock.
Yes.
So they
Right.
have these Liberty boats that they put you on to get you to shore.
Yeah.
So then they're like, nobody comes back to the boat this time of day. We're like, we got stuck. We have a duty day. We got to get back.
Well, it's been
Jacqueline,
what, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're
Long time
due.
ago.
Well,
Yeah.
tell her what you did after that. That's even more interesting. Tell her.
I spent 25 years working in the Department of Corrections as a corrections officer. So
A prison guard.
Yeah, I
And,
know.
Yes.
Rough.
well, it's a job, somebody has to do it. So, it afforded me the opportunity to retire with medical benefits at an earlier age. So I took advantage of that. So my wife and I are just traveling, meeting great folks like Tony and Phil.
Did you guys meet
Notice how we put
in your
Tony first, because I could just be left out of the equation. I could be pulled out at any time, similar to what you and I were talking about this morning.
like I told you this morning? Wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So how long have you
Self-deprecating.
guys known each other? How long have you guys known each other?
A year.
Yeah, a year.
Wow. Okay, so it's a recent friendship. Love
Yeah,
it.
we were fast friends.
That's great.
We pulled up and we're like, oh, we're gonna like these people because they have BMWs behind the camper, and I have a BMW up in Pennsylvania.
The motorcycles.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I was smoking ribs. I think that's what really got him over here. Yeah, was
So
the
he
ribs.
came over with a bottle of bourbon? Is that how
He
you
did, and then he realized that didn't really have its worth over to me, because I pulled out the bottle of Jack, to which I thought that was the end of our friendship, but it seems to have lasted, so we're okay.
So, and we stay in touch throughout the entire year. We had the opportunity. We were up in Massachusetts, and the four of us got together for dinner, and we're looking. We actually scheduled ourselves here at this particular location in Florida, more than any other place because of Phil and Tony, and
That's great.
And Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And Mickey Mouse.
yeah, Mickey
So-
Mouse was he was the
Do you-
result of.
Do you guys have passes too, like
Yeah.
Tony
Yeah,
and
we bought
Phil?
passes. So yeah, our
That's great.
first park day is December 9th.
We're going with you, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to Animal Kingdom and wherever else that day. But yeah, so I want to make the use of it. So because we went on two of the busiest days of the year. So over the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, the parks are like packed to the brim. So we
Insane.
went on the 28th and the 30th last year, and we had the IFT tour. I follow Tony.
Yes.
Right? They're like, what do you want to do? IFT. I follow
IFT
Tony.
tour.
So-
Oh, that is hilarious.
And we got a lot accomplished, and we, spent some money on some lightning lanes, but they would always be at the end, like at the end of our time here, they're always saying, hey, we got reservations in Epcot and we're going to watch the fireworks. You want to come over with us? We're like, we don't have passes. I'm
And
not gonna-
it's like $300 a day to get into the Disney park. So if you don't have the passes, it's stupid. But when you
Yeah.
have the passes, you can just go over like Tony and I do a lot. We went over to see the Beach Boys night before last, and you
And they're
just go to
yearly
dinner and see the
passes,
concert.
right? Is it
yearly
yearly
pass,
pass?
But see, those only cost $1,200, and that sounds like a lot of money, but it's not when you're here. And
Right.
that gives you 20% off of all the food, for like food and merchandise and everything else. You get the discount. So Tony and I pay the value of ours off in literally a week.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
go over there for dinner.
How
So,
long are you
and
in
then,
Florida now?
we'll be here till March.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
here till May. Yeah, we're here till May.
So then I have other obligations and people tugging at me for my attention. So I'll give Phil his Phil. And
I've already told Jacqueline that there's a Jacqueline priority that's most likely in my future. So there's going to have to be some times around Disney that, I may say, Jacqueline, I could talk to, but I'll be on the cell phone and I'll be at like Rise of the Resistance, and you may see Chewbacca and Luke Skywalker around, but my brain is still with you. It'll be okay.
He's able to do
blaming me
that.
he's blaming me for everything that is going wrong in his life right now.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
She doesn't
I'll
listen to
take
me,
it.
neither does Tony. I get no sympathy from anybody.
So who gets better advice, Tony or Phil?
Oh,
I
there's
plead the
one.
fifth. It depends on what we're talking about,
Oh, she's so politically correct.
right? Right?
Well,
All right,
Jacqueline,
guys.
yeah.
Thank
So
you so much, Joe.
listen, Jacqueline, I want you to be careful now tonight. You don't need to be drunk texting me because I know where you're headed, and it's probably to the bar.
I said
So,
for a
I am
Bavaria.
going to do the
She's-
sip, taste, inhale, sip, taste, exhale. I'm
okay.
going to try tonight.
Yep, and then try that with different brands of bourbons.
Yes.
And then Woodford also has one called Double Oaked. That means it was taken from its original barrel and put into a second barrel for whatever time frame. And I like it because I believe it has a little more richer flavor to it.
Okay.
I recommend that one. And if you have any questions, you can get a hold of Phil and message me or whatever. If you're unsure about something, sometimes sometimes there's good deals at the duty free, and other times they're racking you. So I like Blanton's as an easy, everyday, consistent single barrel sipper. That's got the
What
little
is-
horse on the top of it.
That's the one that I was going to ask you. What is it called?
Blanton's, Blanton's.
Yes.
And those there, if they have a letter on each topper that you can get all 8 of them, and it'll spell Blanton's. And then complimentary, if you send them in to the company, they'll send you back a stave with all your toppers on them. So if you collect all of them, so those are $75 a bottle. But like in a duty free, sometimes they're asking 110 or 120, which that's not, like, if it's a 1 or 2 off times that you're going to pay that for, that's not bad. But I like it at $75.
Yeah.
And then Blanton's also has a couple of overseas only releases. So I know they do a lot of stuff in Japan specifically, and those are Takari Red and Takari Gold. Takari means special in Japanese, is what I'm told. I'm not. And those are aged a bit longer than normal Blantons. My favorite Blantons is one called Blanton's Straight from the Barrel, and that's a barrel proof. So they're usually about between 128 and 135 proof. And sometimes proof equals heat. Most times proof equals flavor, especially in something that's aged significantly longer. Proof equals flavor versus heat.
Okay. So the
So-
longer is barrel, the better it is.
The longer a barrel strength bourbon is aged, the smoother it should be. That's what,
Okay.
so, and then sometimes you might just add a drop or 2 of water to it, and that they say it activates enzymes and opens it up, and you'll get like more floral notes out of it.
Okay.
Or if it's very high proof and you want to tame it down a lot, you just put a nice ice cube in it, give it and then swirl and drink, and it'll mellow it out enough or tame it down. Because I'm not into heat. I don't like hot that's burning me all the way down. I like flavor. I like being like this one here. The description I have on it at 131 proof, it'll warm you from your nose to your belly, but it does not. There's no heat to it. You feel a warmth from it, but you don't want the burn from it.
Right. So in my first bourbon trip, which ones are the distilleries that I must visit?
Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, and then Whiskey Row in downtown Louisville. There's a bunch of them that are real close together. So Old Forester on my absolute favorite tour
Okay,
because they actually have someone in the in that small distillery making barrels in front of you,
okay.
and they fire the barrels as well. They'll show you them toasting the barrels or
And if we have time, Joe, like getting down to the tour at Jack Daniels is really good
It's really good.
historically.
Yeah.
And you can watch them do the charcoal process there and
Yep.
also char the barrels.
Heaven Hill, 100% I recommend. Downtown Kentucky, there's also the at Evan Williams, there's a very, very informative tour. And they have like you walk into a room, it's all projection screens, but it makes you feel like you're on the banks of the Kentucky River, at the previous turn of the century, or when America was very young and things were still progressing. And there's so many. I don't think I can give you a bad recommendation, but if you home base in Louisville, and then I have places I could send you to taste,
You mean take us.
to take it.
Take us.
But
Yeah.
if I'm coming, I'll take it to.
All right. Well, Joe, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Bill, thank you so much
Jack.
for organizing this. It was amazing.
No,
Great way to start
it's
my
always
day.
informative. I'm
Yes.
glad well, you're not starting your day, you're ending your day. So you can go right
I'm-
into drinking.
Starting my work day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true, because you accommodate this side of the pond. But I think I've seen you in the midst of working and drinking before. It's not that noticeable. You'll be fine.
You're right about that, especially
All
a
right.
couple of years ago. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Joe, pleasure to
Bye.
meet you. Bill, thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Bye. Bye, Tony.
Tony's inside. Oh, she said bye.